Welcome back to another edition of Baseball for Maniacs. The nightmare never ends. And what made this so much worse, so I got 3 games going on. I got the Flyers game, I got the Phillies game, and I got the Mets game going on because I am a D1 hater. And when we were down 6-2, that's when the Mets won their game 3-2. They ended their losing streak. So every time the Phillies lose, of course, it's severely disappointing. However, it made me feel a little better when the Mets were going through their misery. They're not going through their misery anymore. They won a game. The Phillies and the Mets are tied for the worst record in the National League to where, I mean, I thought last night was rock bottom. Tonight's rock bottom. And if we lose tomorrow, tomorrow's going to be rock bottom to where it's such a devastating state because it's like it's early arguments out of the window. But with the playoffs, how we got the 3 wild cards. If you simply just hover around 500 till May or June, you can definitely compete for a playoff spot. And that's the name of the game. Just get in. But now you're 8 games under 500 before May 1st, to where this hole might be too far. You probably dug it too far to even get out of this. And they're going to fire Thompson, but they're going to do it too late. Like, I'd fire him today, and it's not Rob Thompson. Rob Thompson cannot convey the message to these players that needs to be done for him to keep his job correct. However, these players, one, either aren't good enough, which is probably the case, and two, just their DNA. When you run a core back year after year after year after year with not enough change, they're never going to do anything. And I used to make an example of the Dodgers, how they always kept knocking on the door and they finally broke through in 2024. You could say 2020, I'm not going to have that argument. They won their first full season championship in 2024. However, they brought in Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto in the 2023 offseason after they got swept by the Diamondbacks because that organization showed a level of urgency. They understood that that ball club wasn't good enough. Dave Dombrowski brought back the same exact team. So what did you expect? But that could be a whole nother discussion. Let's get into the game. Taijuan Walker has pitched his last game with the Philadelphia Phillies. I firmly believe that. Allen Ron being brought up, I feel like was a message. And he pitched fine coming out of the bullpen. There's just no use for Taijuan Walker. The contract will go down as one of the worst in Philadelphia Phillies history. Another Dave Dombrowski masterclass. And it just sucks when every single start, it was an automatic loss. It was back to 2024. You could sustain that in 2024, but you can't do it in 2026 when these players have regressed. To where if you just won 2 of Taijuan Walker's starts, you'd be 10-14. 10-14 is so much easier to manage than 8-16. And it just shows you, and the emphasis I put on this team was have a sense of urgency early. Sweep the Rockies. Win a series at home against the Diamondbacks. Because these games are so important now because you keep losing. If you win a couple ball games here and there, when you have a sense of urgency, you could sustain this crap because you won those close ball games to where it just sucks the way they came out. And I kind of do blame that on Rob Thompson. He didn't have his guys ready. And it also shows a failure from the organization side to bring it back Rob Thompson. Again, everything seems to be 1 year too late. Justin Crawford making that error in center field was absolutely deflating. He had a 2-1 lead at the time, and then it's 2-2, and then Taijuan Walker went off the rails. You have to play perfect defense behind Taijuan Walker to have a chance at win a ball game. I'm not going to bash the rookie, but I do think what the other players are doing and how they came into the season is rubbing off on the rookie. He follows the lead of the Trey Turners, of the Alec Bohms, of the Bryce Harpers. And it just sucks, man. The offense was awful again. The only bright spot I will say is Alec Bohm got 2 hits. And I've been saying this for the last couple of days. Alec Bohm isn't this bad to where eventually the back of his baseball card will show. He probably dug himself in such a hole to where he's not going to get to his normal stats. However, he's not this bad. 2 hits looks very nice. Trey Turner sucks. He had a double. Cool. Not doing his job. You put Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot, and I agreed with that decision. He went 0 for 4. Bryce Harper challenging a pitch in the 3rd inning when you knew you didn't have any challenges left just shows a lot of me baseball, a lot of me attitude. Because it's like, dude, if it's a borderline pitch, unless you're 100% sure that it is a ball, you do not challenge that. Other notes I have: Rob Thompson post game couldn't remember when they brought up Olin Ron. He was like, was it today? Was it yesterday? I mean, he's so cooked. He's so lost. And I'm not going to bash Rob Thompson because, in totality, I do think he is a good manager. He was a good Phillies manager. Sure, he's not the guy to get over the hump. We all know his playoff blunders. But in totality, I believe Rob Thompson, in his tenure, has been one of the best managers in Phillies baseball. But that just shows you he's cooked. He's lost. He's feeling the pressure. He needs to go. Him also pinch hitting Stott for Sosa when Sosa had 2 hits just shows he doesn't have a feel for baseball. He just doesn't. He's just so cooked, and it's kind of the theme of this team. They're all cooked. Um, any optimism? So he did make a good point. We do have a fully rested bullpen tomorrow with Sanchi going on the bump. It's got to be a win day, and then you got to go in Atlanta and win a series. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but you got to start winning baseball games. That's really all I have for this episode of Baseball for Maniacs. Let me know what you guys think. Just a sad state, man. Like, genuinely, like, watching this game, yeah, there was some anger, especially directed at Taiwan Walker, but more just sadness, dude. Like, it just sucks to watch this. It sucks to see this great era of Phillies baseball that didn't end in a championship end like this. Like, I didn't think they were going to win a championship this year, obviously. However, I couldn't have expected this. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. We got a game tomorrow. And as always, go Phils.